It was a typical Wednesday morning, and like always, I made my way to school. The air was crisp and the streets were busy, but my mind was already focused on the day's lesson. I had started to enjoy these walks, using the time to think about what we'd learned the day before and what new things I might discover. When I arrived, I took my usual seat near the window, watching as the other students trickled in, one by one. Monica, who sat a few rows in front of me, seemed more energized than usual. As soon as the teacher started the lesson, Monica raised her hand, clearly eager to ask something. Our teacher paused, giving her a warm nod, inviting her to speak. "How do you know all of this?" Monica asked, her voice full of genuine curiosity. "Where did you learn so much about studying languages?" The room went quiet. It was a question I hadn't thought of before. But now that she asked, I realized I had been wondering the same thing. Our teacher always seemed to have the right answer, and she explained things in a way that made sense, no matter how difficult the topic. It was clear she was an expert, but we never really knew how she became so knowledgeable. The teacher smiled, as if she had been expecting this question at some point. She walked slowly to the front of the class, her eyes meeting ours. "Well, that's a good question," she said, her tone calm and thoughtful. We all leaned in a little, waiting for her to continue. It felt like we were about to learn not just a lesson about language, but about her journey, the path that had brought her here to teach us. Monica's question had opened a door, and I had a feeling we were about to learn something deeper than grammar or vocabulary. In the middle of our lesson, Monica asked a question that made all of us stop and think. She looked up from her notebook and asked the teacher, "How do you know all of this? Where did you learn so much about teaching languages?" It was a question I hadn't thought about before, but now that she asked, I realized I'd been curious too. Our teacher always seemed to know the exact way to explain things, and she had a calm confidence that made learning with her feel so easy. But how did she get so good at it? Where did all her knowledge come from? The room went silent as everyone turned their attention to the teacher. She smiled softly, almost as if she'd been waiting for someone to ask that question. She stood still for a moment, gathering her thoughts, and then she began to speak. "There are many ways to gain knowledge about how to teach and learn languages," she said. Her voice was gentle but sure, and we all listened closely. "The first one is experience. I've been teaching for more than 7 years now." She paused for a second, and I could tell she was thinking about all those years, all the students she had taught. "With experience," she continued, "I've learned what works and what doesn't. Every time I teach, I observe how you respond. I notice which activities help you learn better, which explanations make things clear, and which ones don't. And over the years, I've started using only the methods that really help." Her words made me realize how much thought and care she put into each lesson. It wasn't just about teaching the material, it was about paying attention to us, the students, and adapting to what worked best for each of us. The idea that every lesson we had was built on years of experience made me appreciate her teaching even more. It felt like we were benefiting not just from this one class, but from all the classes she had ever taught. And I had a feeling that with this kind of teacher, we were in good hands. As our lesson continued, the teacher shared more about how she had become so skilled at teaching languages. After telling us about her years of experience, she added something that caught my attention. I also study materials about learning languages on the internet, she said, glancing around the room. There's so much out there, and when I find something interesting, I try it out with one of my classes. She smiled a little, as if thinking back to all the experiments she had done over the years. If it works well, I start using it in all my other classes too. But first, I always make sure it helps. Her approach sounded so practical and simple, yet it made me realize how much effort she put into making sure we were learning in the best way possible. She wasn't just teaching from a book. She was constantly searching, testing, and improving. It felt good to know that every activity or exercise we did wasn't just random. It was something she had carefully chosen because it worked. I started to feel lucky that we had a teacher who cared so much about making our lessons effective. But then she said something that really took me by surprise. There's also another way I get information, she added, her voice quieter now, almost like she was sharing a secret. We all leaned in a little, curious about what she was going to say next. Sometimes when I have a question and I can't find the answer, I go and visit my magic park, she said with a mysterious smile. That's where I get my answers. I blinked, trying to understand what she meant. A magic park? Was she joking? I glanced around the room and it seemed like everyone else was just as puzzled. But the teacher didn't say anything more about it. She just moved on with the lesson, leaving us all wondering what she meant. It felt like there was a whole story behind that magic park, something we hadn't yet heard but would one day understand. The mystery of it lingered in my mind, and I couldn't help but feel intrigued. Where was this magic park, and how did it give her the answers she needed? I had a feeling this was something she'd reveal to us in time, and I couldn't wait to find out more. As we sat there, soaking in all the information our teacher had shared, Monica suddenly leaned forward with a spark of curiosity in her eyes. This is interesting, she said, her voice bright with excitement. How do you get the answers in the magic park? Where is this magic park? Can we go there too? It was a question that hung in the air, and I felt my heart race a little. I wanted to know too. The idea of a magic park sounded like something out of a storybook, and I couldn't help but imagine a place where learning happened in fun and mysterious ways. Our teacher chuckled softly at our eagerness. I noticed her smile widen as she glanced around the room at all of our curious faces. Well, she began slowly, what I am going to tell you is not real to everybody. If it sounds crazy, I'm sorry. There was a slight pause, and for a moment, it felt like time had stopped. I leaned in closer, hanging on to her every word. However, you asked for it, so I'm going to give you the answer. She took a deep breath, and I could see a mix of excitement and a bit of hesitation in her eyes. The magic park is not a physical place you can visit like a theme park or a garden. It exists in your mind, she explained. It's a way of thinking, a way to explore your ideas and questions. When I feel stuck or unsure, I close my eyes and imagine this park. In my mind, I walk through it, and suddenly, the answers come to me. The way she described it painted a vivid picture in my head. I imagined a colorful park filled with tall trees and vibrant flowers, where ideas floated like butterflies and answers danced in the air. It sounded so magical. I could almost see myself wandering through it, searching for solutions to my own questions. The thought made me smile, and I could feel a sense of wonder building inside me. I wanted to explore this magic park too, even if it was just in my imagination. Sometimes it takes a little time to find the right answer, our teacher continued. But as long as you believe in it and open your mind, you can find it there. I could see that this method was something special to her, a unique tool she had developed over her years of teaching. And in that moment, I realized that learning wasn't just about facts and figures. It was also about imagination and creativity. I found myself eager to learn more about this magic park and how I could use it in my own learning journey. As our teacher continued to explain her fascinating method, I found myself leaning forward, eager to catch every word. I believe that if you have a question and you ask the universe for an answer, the answer comes, she said with a knowing smile. The way she spoke made it seem so easy, as if finding answers was just a natural part of life. When I have a question, she continued, I go to the magic park. I was intrigued. I pictured this magic park in my mind, filled with wonders and secrets waiting to be discovered. I sit on a bench, she explained, and I could almost see her there, surrounded by beautiful flowers and tall trees. I relax my body. I slow down my breathing, and I try to free my mind. I liked the sound of that. It felt peaceful, like a little escape from the busy world outside. Then I asked the question, "This is all?" she said, as if it was the simplest thing in the world. But I could tell there was so much more behind her words. It wasn't just about asking. It was about really connecting with your thoughts and being open to whatever answers might come. I started to wonder what kind of questions I might take to my own magic park. The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to try this out. What if I could ask the universe my own questions? What if I could find answers just by sitting quietly and listening? It sounded almost like a game, a way to explore my mind and discover new ideas. I could imagine myself sitting on a bench, feeling the warmth of the sun on my skin, and just letting everything else fade away. Sometimes the answers come quickly, she added, her voice soft but confident. Other times they take a little longer, but they always come if you stay patient. That made me think about my own learning journey. There were times I had struggled with certain topics, feeling frustrated and lost. But what if I could approach those moments differently? What if I could simply sit back, ask my questions, and wait for the answers to come to me? With each word she spoke, I felt a new excitement building inside me. I was eager to learn how to tap into this magic park concept, to find a way to use it in my own life. It felt like a powerful tool, something that could help me grow not just as a student, but as a person. I realized that learning wasn't just about memorizing facts. It was about exploring ideas, discovering new thoughts, and finding connections in unexpected places. This was just the beginning of a journey I couldn't wait to embark on. As our teacher spoke, I felt myself getting lost in her words. Sometimes the answer comes as a new idea in my head, she explained, her eyes lighting up. I could see how much she believed in this process, how each moment of quiet reflection opened up a world of possibilities. I imagined her sitting in that magic park, her mind a canvas, painting vibrant ideas as they flowed in. Other times, she continued, somebody I speak to later tells me something that helps me get the answer. That made me think about all the conversations I had every day. Often I took them for granted, but what if those chats held the keys to the questions I had? Her words rang true. I remembered moments when I had talked with friends or family, and suddenly something they said clicked with me. It was like finding a missing piece of a puzzle. It made me realize that learning could happen in unexpected ways, through the people around us. Sometimes, she added with a twinkle in her eye, I watch an interesting video on the internet and find the answer there. That struck a chord with me. I loved watching videos. There were so many fascinating topics out there, just waiting to be explored. Thought about the last video I had watched about the history of language. I had been so fascinated. The images, the stories, and the way the narrator spoke made everything come alive. I could almost feel the excitement bubbling inside me as I remembered how much I had learned. It was like the universe was giving me hints and clues, nudging me to pay attention. And you know what? She said, leaning in a bit closer. Sometimes the answers come the next day in the morning when I wake up. I couldn't help but smile at that. It sounded so magical. The thought of waking up to a new understanding or solution felt refreshing. It was as if overnight, while I slept, my mind was busy working on my questions. It was comforting to think that answers could be waiting for me, ready to reveal themselves when I least expected it. This whole idea of asking questions and then waiting for the universe to respond filled me with hope. It was like embarking on a treasure hunt, where the treasures were answers, and I was the explorer. I could see myself walking through that magic park, sitting on the bench and enjoying the journey of discovery. I realized that learning English was not just about studying hard. It was also about being open, curious, and ready to embrace the unknown. I felt like I was starting a new adventure, one that would lead me to new ideas, interesting conversations, and perhaps even some surprises along the way. The excitement bubbled inside me, and I couldn't wait to dive deeper into this journey. As I listened to my teacher share her experiences, I couldn't help but feel a spark of inspiration. "What is interesting," she said, her eyes shining with excitement, "is the fact that the answers keep coming. I was curious about this idea. How could answers just appear like magic? It sounded almost too good to be true, but there was something in her voice that made me want to believe her. I am so grateful for them," she continued, a soft smile crossing her face. It was clear that she valued every bit of wisdom that came her way, and I could see how much joy it brought her. She paused for a moment, as if reflecting on her journey. As I said, she added, "You don't have to believe what I am telling you, but this is what I do, and how it works for me." Her words lingered in the air, and I felt a wave of curiosity wash over me. I wanted to know more about her methods, about how she found answers and connected with her thoughts. I thought about my own life and the questions I had. Could I also find answers in the same way? It was comforting to think that I could ask questions and receive answers, just like she did. I began to wonder how many times I had missed out on answers simply because I didn't think to ask. Maybe I could start looking at my own life with a new perspective. Instead of getting frustrated when I didn't understand something, I could take a step back and wait for the answers to come. It felt like a refreshing approach to learning. As I sat there, I imagined what it would be like to have a conversation with the universe. I pictured myself sitting in that magic park, waiting patiently for the answers to flow in like a gentle breeze. I thought about the moments when I felt lost or confused, how different they might be if I could simply ask for clarity and then trust that the universe would respond. It was a comforting thought, and I felt a sense of hope blossoming inside me. Listening to my teacher made me realize that learning is not just about books and classes. It's about exploring ideas, being curious and remaining open to new experiences. Every answer was like a gift, and I wanted to start collecting them. I knew that each answer would bring me closer to understanding, not just the English language, but life itself. This journey was turning out to be more exciting than I had ever imagined, and I couldn't wait to see what answers awaited me around the corner. As my teacher continued to describe her special place, I felt a wave of excitement wash over me. "The park is not very far from here," she said, her voice warm and inviting. "It is a 10-minute walk." I could already picture myself strolling down the path, my feet crunching on the leaves, the sun shining down on me. It sounded so peaceful. "A lot of people go to the park to relax," she added, and I imagined families having picnics, friends chatting, and kids playing. "It is beautiful," she continued, her eyes sparkling. I could see the scenery in my mind. The green grass, the tall trees swaying gently in the breeze, and colorful flowers blooming everywhere. It felt like a little piece of paradise right here in the city. "It has a very nice atmosphere," she explained, and I could almost feel the calmness washing over me just thinking about it. I call it a magic park," she said, her smile growing wider, "because it is magical for me." I loved the way she described it, and it made me wonder what made it so special for her. What kind of magic could I find there? It was exciting to think that just by going to this park, I might discover something wonderful. I started to daydream about my own visits. I could see myself sitting on a bench, soaking in the beauty around me. Maybe I would close my eyes, take a deep breath, and let the peace of the park fill my mind. Perhaps I would find answers to my questions or even get new ideas while I sat there. I think I need to visit this park soon, I thought to myself, feeling a sense of anticipation. I could imagine the joy of taking a break from studying and wandering into that green haven. Maybe I'll bring a book, I said out loud, a smile forming on my lips, or I could just sit and listen to the sounds of nature. The idea of being in that magic park filled me with excitement. It was a chance to escape the noise of the city and connect with myself. What if you found your own magic in the park? I pondered. The thought made me even more eager to go. I realized that sometimes the best lessons come from being in the right place, surrounded by beauty and calm. That park could be the perfect spot for me to reflect, learn, and grow. I could hardly wait for my next lesson when I could finally visit this magical place. As I sat in class, my teacher's words wrapped around me like a warm blanket. My teacher's words are very interesting for me, I thought, feeling my curiosity grow. I never imagined that people could ask the universe for answers. It was like a whole new world had opened up before me. It made me feel excited to think that there was a way to seek help beyond just books and teachers. Maybe I had been missing something important all along. I couldn't help but wonder what kinds of questions I might ask in the future. What if I had an interesting question about learning English? I mused. The thought filled me with hope. What if I could go to the park, just like my teacher said, and sit on a bench under the tall trees? I could close my eyes, take a deep breath, and ask the universe for help. Would I get an answer? What kind of answers would come to me? Imagining myself in that beautiful park, I pictured the sunlight filtering through the leaves, creating little patterns on the ground. I could almost hear the birds singing, adding a lovely melody to the peaceful atmosphere. I thought about how relaxing it would be to escape from the busy city for just a little while. It sounds magical, I whispered to myself. I can't wait to try it. And then I thought about the questions I had right now. What if I wanted to know how to improve my English speaking skills? I could ask that question. Or maybe I could ask why I sometimes felt shy when speaking English. Each thought excited me more than the last. I realized that this park could be a special place where I could seek answers and find clarity. With each passing moment, I felt a sense of adventure brewing inside me. What if I found answers that changed everything for me? I wondered. The idea of having conversations with the universe was new and thrilling. It felt like I was about to embark on a journey of discovery, where every question could lead to something amazing. I can do this, I thought with determination. The next time I had a burning question in my heart, I would remember the magic park and the wise words of my teacher. It was a promise I made to myself. I would find that park and ask my questions, ready to embrace whatever answers the universe wanted to share with me. This was just the beginning of my journey, and I felt ready to dive in.